boldip.com.
Welcome everybody to the Bold Inventor Show. I'm J.D. Houvener, founder and patent attorney, and we're talking patents, trademarks. Here's my good buddy Matt. Good day to you.
Hey, what's going on, JD?
Man, I was hoping I wasn't at the sale solo today. I'm glad.
No. But you're lucky to have me. I got stuck on the side of the highway last night.
Oh, no way. Bad? Like
no, I was coming back from pheasant hunting. Okay. I was in North Dakota and the car broke down. So I'm waiting on a part right now in northern Minnesota.
Oh, man. Well, you are dedicated. Thanks for being with us.
Of course, man. Of course. So, I'm way-sighted for the next day or two, but that's all right. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Thank you. Weather sucks out here, but hey, that's all right. We're here talking inventions, put on a buttoned-up shirt, so ready to, get serious if we have any heavy-duty questions. Try to do it. So we've got a guest backstage, Charles Martin, Ph.D., really awesome dude. I spoke with him on Monday and I was like, hey, we got a spot this week. Let's bring you on. He's AI, old school, if you will. He's been doing AI for a long time.
Old school AI, huh?
Old school AI, like AI before it was cool kind of guy. So I really hope his audio gets going. We'll bring him on in just a little bit. I do have our live link to share. If anyone that's joining us, I see we have a couple live viewers out there that are, out now in a boat. Send us your question if you've got something, patent, trademark, IP related. We'll take a swing. We're not going to be able to give you any legal advice here on the live show. I'll provide you a link later to schedule some time to speak with us. Dallas, in fact, actually, Dallas is out of office. He's got a baby now. You've seen the pictures?
Yep.
So we've got Hope and Reno that'll take your call. And also we'll get you one of our inventor kits. Don't miss out. Here's a link to the inventor kit. Put together a lot of cool stuff. Of course, the book, the second edition book. I got to get my third edition book in that kit too. Just released that third edition, the AI update. So look at that inventor kit link. Click on that and get your copy today. So without further ado, I think we should jump into a little Q&A. How about that? Matt, anything else you want to?
No, that sounds good. Let's do it.
Okay, let's do that. We'll knock out a few questions and check in with our guest. So we have, let's see if we have anything new here in the hopper. Any questions out there with our live audience? We'll take those and put you to the top of the list. Okay, here's a trademark question to kick things off from Reddit. Okay. So long story short, my company and my investors have realized that a huge company is using our name for one of their entertainment programs. We copyrighted and trademarked the name back in 2020, and they started in 2025. We're both under class 41 and haven't filed under education entertainment services. Our name is tied to an app, and theirs is tied to a program that is only available through their app. Do we have any legal rights here?
Yeah, it sounds like there's a possible likelihood of confusion there. I mean, generally speaking, I'm always kind of a little pessimistic when I hear clients be like, hey, we got a problem with third party. I always want to hear about it and really get the information because, just because somebody's using your exact name for their product or services doesn't mean that it's a violation of your trademark rights necessarily.
Right.
But it sounds like both of these users of the brand are in the same kind of sphere, which is education entertainment. And if that's the case, then yeah, there might be a problem there. It's going to depend on how closely related those channels of trade are and how closely those entertainment or education services are. So like, for example, if this person is like, they run a clown university. You want to be a clown, you go to their university, right? Well, that's not going to be a problem if this other company is using the same name for their podcasts about weightlifting, right? Completely different. Same class, same name, but no one's going to be confused between, the clown university and this other company.
Okay, so even though they're both in the same service area, a podcast,
Yep.
the same media,
Yep.
the topic matters.
The topic matters, and it's not always the case for every single different class of services at the United States Patent and Trademark Office, but when you get into some of these broader classes, like Class 41, like this one, Education Entertainment Services, it's huge. Lots of different verticals within that class. Same for business services. Class 35, there's lots of different types of businesses out there. And just because you might be in real estate or let's say like business consulting services doesn't necessarily mean that you can't have an online store under the same name for providing different products. So it's a big world. Some classes are tight, others are large. This is one where you really want to take a look and see what the actual services are in the vertical they're in.
Right. Cool. Love it. Thank you, Matt. Good stuff. I put in the link there for anyone to book a discovery call. If you've got something specific you want legal advice on, schedule a discovery call. We'll get you lined up to speak with Matt in more detail about your case. Maybe if you're the one that asked the question, we want to make sure we handle that in confidence. A lot of those are kind of case specific, right, Matt? That's what you're saying.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, let's see. This is a good question on patents. I think it comes up a lot. This concept of designing around.
Sure.
So the question is, how do companies manage to design around a patent? And what can inventors do to protect their ideas from being bypassed this way? Awesome question. Really good up front. I mean, this is really hard to do. And that's what patent attorneys are trained to do, is prevent the ability, once you get a patent, for your competitors to easily design around. In other words, you want to have a patent that's broad enough so that the rights, the written claims, to design around it, the product would be less beneficial, right? Less efficient and not desirable. And so if you can achieve that, you've won. You found a way to carve your niche in the market, and you're going to get that competitive advantage you're looking for. Right up front, you can save yourself a ton of money by investing in a patentability search. You can get the best sneak peek possible by working with an attorney that has the resources to not just patents, but non-patent literature, right? Documentation, published literature. All this can give you insight into how unique is my invention. If I get a patent on these rights, how could a competitor just as smart as me, maybe a little smarter, figure out a way around your invention to do and achieve the same result? And so it's a really great thought process, and it's what attorneys think through when they're drafting claim language. And so why we want to have the words, every word matters, because it's how it's defined. It's how you might be able to achieve that additional coverage you're looking for. One more thing to mention here on patents is there's an ability to, once you create your fence with the claims, broaden the fence, grow the fence by filing what's called continuation in part, additional continuation. So you've got your first invention. You can have an additional embodiment, different version of that invention that comes up as the patent's going through. You keep on inventing, and you have a new version, a new application where you can file an additional patent and develop a patent family around that one invention. And so we do encourage a lot of inventors to grow a portfolio, not just come away with one single patent claim for your invention, but have a bunch of them, a bunch of child patents that can really do just that, prevent others from designing around. Now, if you come up with any, design around type philosophies on the trademark side, is there something similar? It's hard.
It's hard. It's really hard on the trademark side to get around likelihood of confusion if it's cited against you.
Yeah. I guess the stronger that your brand gets, the more well-known you become,
right?
As you head toward becoming famous.
Your trademark rights, they ebb and flow, right? As you expand in both territory and renown or goodwill, right? Your trademark rights expand too. So
love it. Cool. Let's check in with Charles Martin, Ph.D. Let's see if we get our lovely guest. Charles, are you there?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, there. Great. Here we go.
The Bold Inventor Show. So glad we got you.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, Charles.
Absolutely.
Nice to meet you, Matt.
Yeah, likewise.
All right. Well, let's start out with, a little bit of your background. I, of course, want to get to WeightWatcher.ai. We could kind of give us the beginnings, give us a bit of your history. I'd love people to hear what I heard in terms of, what you've been doing since, I think you said the 90s, working on this.
Sure. Well, I did my Ph.D. on this stuff way back in the 90s. One of my classmates just won the Nobel Prize for development of AlphaFold, which is the Google DeepMind flagship product for folding proteins. I have another classmate who won the Nobel Prize in 2023 for inventing quantum dots. So if you use, a Mac, if you use a MacBook and you look at the screen, that's a quantum dot technology. So his technology is.
So what you're saying is that you're due for your Nobel Prize.
I'm waiting. Yeah, I don't want to be the.
It must be in the mail somewhere.
Exactly. So I've been doing this for a long time. I did my postdoctoral work. I was an NSF postdoc, one of two in the country, where I did my postdoctoral work with in theoretical physics and the theories of AI. So we knew about this stuff in the 90s. The thing is that we didn't have the compute. So we had the supercomputing center at Champaign-Urbana, which, we had like 50 machines, each of which were $50,000 a piece. And those machines probably aren't as powerful as your iPhone or certainly not your MacBook today. Right. So we knew how this stuff worked, but it's been 30, 40 years or so to develop it. And there's been, of course, hundreds of billions of dollars poured into this technology. And now it's everywhere, ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or, all these technologies, they really do work. They're phenomenal. But nobody knows why they work. And it's very much like
it's the pile of lasagna.
Yeah. I mean, I like the analogy of the steam engine. When we built the steam engine, they used to blow up, right? The steam engines would blow up. We almost burned down Boston. Back in the Deep South, they used to race the steamboats until one exploded, like before NASCAR. That's what they did. So it took, someone to invent thermodynamics. Which many of you may have, if you ever studied anything in college, it was one of the course that all engineers hate, which is taking thermodynamics. But thermodynamics is the foundation of all engines. So the reason we have automobiles and trains and rockets and airplanes is because of thermodynamics. Elon Musk would not be able to have Starship without thermodynamics, but it didn't start that way. It started with somebody just tinkering in their garage or, their basement of their home trying to make a steam engine. And I think AI is the same way. We have all of this engineering work going into it, but nobody really understands why it works. And that's a huge barrier to adoption. People are afraid of using it. It hallucinates. It makes stuff up. It gives incorrect answers. And you see crazy things like you'll see lawyers. You guys are lawyers, right? They're submitting briefs to judges with cases that have been hallucinated.
Right.
Yeah, don't do that.
No.
Right. But they're doing it, right? So this is insanity. So the problem I'm trying to solve is how do you make an AI model that works correctly? How do you make it work optimally for what you're doing? And I've been working on this now for about 10 years. I was personal scientific advisor to Larry Page's family. Larry Page owns Google, right? So his family, I worked with his brother on some of their technologies. I had some free time to work on this. And I had been working sort of informally with UC Berkeley for a while. We developed some open source technology. And then on my own, I've developed some much more advanced things. And that's the technology. So we have a tool, general theory, which can help you understand how these AI models work, and a tool which you can use to evaluate if you're training your own models. You can evaluate to see how well you've done. And that's what's going to happen. I mean, it's very new now. It's very nascent. But in the next 10 years, people are going to want to train their own AI models, right? They're going to collect data. You're going to, just like you build your own website, right? Nobody thought you'd build your own. Everybody can build their own website now, although people are going to train their own AI models, and they're going to need to make sure those models work correctly.
So I've been taking little baby steps, and I want to see if I'm even close to being on this boat. I've decided to pay for the Teams version of ChatGPT, where it's supposed to be sandboxed. Does that mean training? Where I'm saying, okay,
no, I'm talking about
okay.
You're trying to design. Maybe you want to design a patent search engine, right? Maybe you want a search engine that searches the patent database better than what the U.S. whatever the government provides. Okay. So you get a bunch of attorneys and you download some Chinese model, which is open source. Right. And then you begin collecting data asking, is this patent relevant to that patent? What do you think? You collect all this training data. And, so you're a small company and you're doing this. And then you build a search engine, which you think searches the patent database better than, whatever's out there. you need an AI model to do that. You need to train it yourself. Now you might hire some staff. This is it could be expensive thing, right? It's not a small thing you're going to do but you're going to want to know whether that model is working correctly or not. And that's really the application. So there are many, many small businesses now that are going to start wanting to train their own models. They're going to collect data. And you're going to try to go and get some platform to do this. And that's where the industry is going. You're going to have all sorts of products now. Like here's an example. There's a problem with, I know about this through some people I know work at the, in the city, ADA compliance on PDF documents. So if the city creates a PDF document, it has to be ADA compliant. That's not so easy. It's not so easy. It takes a lot of money to hire someone to go and read that PDF document and go back to how it was made. And imagine having an AI tool that can just make it compliant.
Got it. Yeah.
So there are lots of tools like this: processing invoices, fixing resumes, making funny, cartoon characters, things like this. Companies are going to start building their own AI models as the technology gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper.
Charles, to interrupt you here, do you, and this is someone who casually, plays with AI and is watching from the bleachers, right? But do you imagine, or do you see this basically being, obviously there's a race between a few large corporations here to own AI, right? And dominate the marketplace. Let's just say ChatGPT is the agent of choice for a lot of us in the future. Do you see us all using like a ChatGPT agent and then subscribing to different data models that those agents play in? So for example, as an attorney, I might purchase, this AI agent add-on for ChatGPT that helps me file trademark applications. Is that kind of what we're looking at?
I think the jury is out on who's going to be the big winner. So there are major companies like Google, OpenAI. The other big ones are Anthropic.
Yep.
Smaller ones like Perplexity. There are major companies who have putting hundreds of billions of dollars into this. But you also see OpenAI. Look at the drama going on. That all the founders have broken up. Elon Musk is claiming that they've turned a nonprofit into a company. How did they do that? Right? There's who knows what's going to happen. OpenAI could fall. Things fall apart. And what's happening now is that you have a lot of major players investing, but you also have a lot of open source models. And the open source models are actually being developed in China. So the Chinese are developing an whole infrastructure. So what they want to do is they're developing models and then they give them to other people to enhance them. And so that's, I think, what the competition is. And if you look at every AI company in Silicon Valley, all these YC funded startups, they're using Chinese models. They're taking the Chinese model and they're adapting it.
Let's do a little timeout. And hopefully I'm not the only one with this question, but break it down for me. What is a model? What is an AI model?
Okay. So imagine, you download every piece of information on the internet. You somehow get access to every book, even though you're not supposed to have access to it because it's copyright protected. And you train a model. It's called a model, which is like ChatGPT that you interact with. You can chat with
it software code. I mean, help me break it down for me.
It's not software code. It's a series of what are called weights. So think of a model as a system with kind of like a stack of pancakes, and it has maybe 100 layers.
Okay.
And each inside contains something called weights, and the weights are how much each piece is weighing how important the information is that it sees. That's why it's called a weight. And these models are basically giant binary files with millions and millions of little weights inside of them.
Okay.
So they're open source in the sense that you can download them and use them, but they're not open source in the sense that you understand how they were made.
Nobody does, right?
Right.
Essentially.
Nobody knows how they're made or why they work.
Right, because at this point, JD, the AI is writing its own code. Is that correct, Charles?
There's some of them, yeah. So there's a system called Hugging Face, and on Hugging Face there are at least 1 million models that you can just download and use. There's 1 million of them. That's how big models. 1 million, yeah, just models. So they're just models. It's not software. It's something the software uses. It's kind of like a database, but think of it like as a memory. It's like a compressed memory of all the information that it's learned on, and you can interact with it. And what it does is it reconstructs things from its memory, and it has some elementary reasoning capacity.
Goodness sakes.
No, this is
JD, we are cooked when it comes.
I think I'm cooked. I think I'm thinking like, gosh, okay, I'm just trying to give an example, like, all the basketball players ever, right? All the data about those players. I don't know, just a weird example. So it's got all these data points, and if I ask who had the most rebounds in one game ever, and it's going to bounce around and know, is that
it knows. It will remember, and if it doesn't know, it'll lie and make something up. It does.
Yeah, so it won't say I don't know.
No, it never says I don't know. It just makes
it doesn't know to say, that's a fascinating question, JD. And then it'll tell you about the history of.
That's right, yeah. But moreover, you're going to have people who are going to want to take some model. So basically, the models are like giant binary files that you can adapt. You can interact with them, and not only can you talk to them, but if they're open source, you can modify them. And so you can extend them. You can make them learn something new. And this is what people are trying to do. So, you might, for example, want to try to train a model to predict who's going to win, the next few games. You can bet on it. And hopefully you won't be betting on Seattle since they, since they're, because there's a little scam, right? With the, these guys got in trouble for the betting.
Did we? Oh, you're talking UW? You're talking Neuheisel?
No, Seahawks.
Oh, Seahawks, right?
Seahawks. You're going way back to New. Okay,
but people are going to use this for gambling. They're going to try to download models and train them for stock market stuff. You're going to have people doing hospital, doctors who want to download these models so they can figure out what code to assign to their patients when they perform some procedure on them, so they make sure they get the reimbursements. People are going to download. People want to make new kinds of video game characters. People want to make new kinds of music. So there's just people are taking these models off the internet, Chinese models, other models, to open source models, and they're modifying them.
Okay, so the big proliferation of models. The question you're hopefully answering is veracity. How effective, how good is the model?
Right. And what I can do with my technology is I can look at the model that you've trained, and I can give you a quality score on it, like a Consumer Reports, thumbs up, thumbs down. And I don't need to see the data that you trained it on.
That's cool.
That's cool. Just look at the model itself.
Just the model. So you can give me any model. If you give it to me, I'll give you a score. And I can say, well, you did okay here and not so well there.
What are some of the key performance indicators of a quality model?
Well, it's basically, did you waste a lot of space? Okay, so think of it, or did you overfit? So think of it like baking a cake. Remember I said there's like there are different layers. And each layer is a weight. Excuse me?
The 100 pancakes?
Like pancakes, like a wedding cake, something like that. Imagine you're baking like a 10-layer cake. And as you're cooking it, if you don't cook it right, the inside might be kind of raw and the outside might be burned. Same thing happens when you train these models. Sometimes some of the layers are burnt, they're overfit, they're brittle, and some of the layers are not fully cooked. And that, of course, is a waste of energy and money, and it's not going to perform as well. So what I'm able to do is to give you a technology that can ensure you've cooked it perfectly. Almost like a sous vide, I can bake it perfectly. Yeah. That's the idea of the technology, and it's based on some very deep advanced mathematical physics, but in the end, it's just, you want to make a model. I want you to make the best model you can have. How can I make sure that you have it?
So are you helping make the right recipe and oversee as
it's
being built?
Right. So one of it is
like afterward.
The first product that's out there now, it's an open source product. We have over 200,000 downloads. It's almost 250 now. It's just a monitor. So it's called WeightWatcher. It's a play on words, right?
Okay. Trademark guy likes it.
Yeah, and Weight Watchers going out of business with all the Ozempic stuff. So but so I'm not worried about that. But it's Weight Watcher, and what it does is it monitors you as you're training or you have a model, and it will give you a red flag and say, hey, you got some problems. And then you can come to me, and I'll help you fix the problems.
Cool. So
and
that's you also offer like a consulting service too?
I get I do freelance consulting, and we're also working and trying to raise money to build technology that can automate a lot of this. That's what we're trying to do.
So hey, Charles, question for you. So if I'm building, if I want to hit up some of these models, am I using one of these other technologies like Claude or ChatGPT to interact with that model, or is that model specific?
Here's things you can do. You could use ChatGPT to create training data to then train your little model.
Got it.
To make it do something very specific.
But when I'm interacting with, the technology, I'm interacting with the model itself.
When you interact with the technology, with ChatGPT or Claude, you're interacting with a model or maybe some collection of models, right? It might be switching between different models under the hood as you interact with it.
Got it. And then, for me, like, would you explain the difference between like an AI model versus like an AI agent?
Sure. So a model is something that you're going to spend a lot of money to train. So you're going to spend a lot of money on it. You're going to collect data. You're going to run some very expensive calculation, and you're going to end up with something you can give somebody else. And it's like a standalone product.
Got it.
And that's where I sort of sit in the middle and try to help you do that, to make sure you don't screw it up. That you do it well. That you don't waste money. It's not too big.
Right.
The agent then takes that model. The agent then interacts, and it goes off and does things. It will crawl the web. Maybe it'll make a trade on Bitcoin. It will download a file for you and read it. And so the agent is something that uses the model and interacts with the world. Maybe you have a database. It might insert information to the database. It might have a memory or a reasoning system. You might have a verifier that checks, okay, I'm giving you a result. Then there's another agent which checks it. And then you might, through the course of doing this, you might want to build a custom agent, which is you might build your own model to make a better agent. But generally the agents, you don't need to train a model to have an agent. The agents are using what's called in-context learning. So it turns out these models can learn on the fly, but they don't have a memory. So it's kind of like you learn something quick and you do it, then you forget it. That's what they do. They're like sort of like a fast action reasoning system. They can learn on the fly, but they don't retain the information.
So because it's not part of the model?
Right. When you work with ChatGPT, you might notice ChatGPT has a memory.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever they're doing, under the hood, they've got this memory that remembers everything you've ever told it, and it interacts with that memory.
Got it.
So when you build an agent, the agent has a model. You have to give it a memory. You have to come some kind of memory, and it has the ability to go out and use tools. And then, of course, you have to be very careful that it doesn't do something crazy.
Got it. So if you were to fast forward 10 years from now, Charles, and just, look at the AI landscape, and let's say we're all running around using AI in our daily lives, right? I assume that's what it's going to look like.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I don't know if you've come to San Francisco or not, but we have self-driving cars.
Yeah, we were out there last fall and drove in the Waymos. It was really cool.
I think in 10 years, there won't be any more taxis, at least not in cities that allow it. I mean, the Waymos are everywhere, right? So you have self-driving cars everywhere. Think about from a legal perspective. There's a company named Harvey that is now producing a legal co-pilot that can do the work of a junior attorney. Those things will be able to draft documents, to review documents, to give you legal advice. That's coming. Now, maybe that will be something you would use as a co-pilot. Maybe it'll stand on its own, but that's coming. Here's one for you. There's a group in San Francisco as a building where they're paying people $25 an hour to train robots how to do basic things. How to fold laundry.
I saw a video of this the other day. There was a guy training a robot how to spray paint.
So one of the things that we think is going to happen is that there are going to be humanoid robotics everywhere. And part of my technology is that, you can train the robot. One of the hardest things about training a robot AI is that you don't know how to evaluate it.
Okay.
It's very hard because you can't
see the paint.
Right. It has to be in the real world to evaluate. And that's very expensive. So my technology, it allows you to give you a quick and dirty assessment of what's going on and to red flag problems. So you go back and make sure at least you don't have these made. It's sort of like a risk management tool. It just tells you, okay, there's some problem here. Why don't you go back and just clean it up? We don't really know if it's going to be a problem, but why do we know it could be a problem, and it will help you avoid things. So that's kind of like my pitch is like, it's very much like when an attorney, you read a contract, like, well, you can sign any contract you want, right? But you don't know what the problems are going to be in the future. The whole problem of reviewing the contract is to sort of avoid some terrible thing that's going to happen in the future, that something happens in you could have easily dealt with it if you had just changed a little bit of language here and there. Wouldn't have been a problem.
Right.
And that's sort of my technology. It says, look, you can kind of look, you have a very complex system. I'm going to go and give you these red flags. Just go back and get rid of them. And then at least, you've done some of your due diligence. You can't keep the self-driving car from running over a cat.
It's true.
That's the big thing now in San Francisco.
But yeah, I saw that the other day too, and I was like, really? I mean, these things happen.
Yeah, but people are like, I ran over the cat, because they hate the Waymo, the people who hate technology, they hate progress. So they're trying, but you can't prevent everything, right? But you can prevent the big things. And more importantly, you can prevent the things you should have known you could have prevented. And that's really the real issue. That's where negligence comes in, right? Because you knew you could have done something and you chose not to because you didn't want to spend the money. Well, that's negligence. So that's the problem with these models. And as we get to the future, this is the real challenge, is we know the models can do all sorts of things, but we also know that they make all sorts of mistakes. And we don't know why they make mistakes, and we can't predict when they make them. And it's very hard to detect them, but you could certainly be liable for them. And that's the challenge. And so 10 years from now, this technology we're just in the beginning. Yeah. Right? We're just in the beginning.
It's already mind-blowing technology too.
Yeah. 10 years and the amount of capital going into this is just, this is sovereign. This is, government level capital that's going into this, right? There are governments funding these operations. This is not small.
It's the American history, right?
I got a question here. So, I'm guessing you were around during the .com.
Yes.
Is this similar, or is it like an exponentially bigger?
Here are some of the similarities. One of the things, I was in the .com in Chicago. So I went to the top venture capitalist in Chicago, Tony Walters. I've not talked to him in years, but he raised the endowment for New Chicago. I tried to convince him to start something because these guys are all thieves. They're not going to do anything. Netscape are a bunch of thieves, right? Well, Mark Andreessen's now one of the most powerful people in the world, right? He's probably has a direct line to the president whenever he wants it, or at least, he's in that at least the second tier. Elon Musk is in that tier, right?
Yep.
Right. These guys didn't believe that anything that it would change anything. Oh, no one's going to use it. It's just for nerds. It has all these problems. There's all sorts of theft. There was all this negativity. And what happened, of course, is that it transformed the world. And it took about 10 years, to really kick off. But it started off as very primitive things. And then and now it's very, very sophisticated. And I think that's where we are with a lot of people, that they don't understand that this is a new technology.
Yeah,
it has problems. These problems need to be solved. And when the problems are solved, then it will continue to enhance. I think the big difference is that in the web engineering years, it didn't take that much money to start a company.
Sure.
You had to buy a computer and you had to set things up, you didn't, but over time, it has become completely commoditized. Anyone can set up a website. You can do purchasing. You can sell products. You can do live streaming like we're doing.
Right.
The thing about AI is that right now it's still incredibly capital expensive. And what's going to happen is that this capital expense is going to go down because the chips are going to get cheaper. Probably the biggest barrier right now is energy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The energy problem. So this is the big problem they have. But the technology is, like I said, when I started the WeightWatcher project, there were less than 100 open source models in the world. Less than 100, maybe 50. Now there are over 1 million. I started just studying these open source models that people were producing to understand how they work. Now there are 1 million of them. Now there's so many I can't even, every day there's like 100 new ones that come out. So the technology has exploded and people are able to train and build their own models, are able to use them, but it's still very primitive. And it's going to be a few years, but eventually people will they'll be using models, training models, they'll be having robots, all sorts of things are going to be going on. And I don't think it's hard to predict what's going to happen, but it's not going away.
I certainly can't think of a more transformative technology in my 40 years.
No.
On this earth.
No.
And it's driving investment in nuclear energy.
Sure.
Right? Because you're not going to be able to power this stuff without nuclear power. There's no way to do it. And that's what I was doing prior to this. I was doing advocacy for nuclear power. And there's just no way to do it. You're not going to be able to generate, and it's driving that. It might drive a whole new generation of manufacturing. Because if you're going to have robots, you need to have people who can fix the robots and divide. And you're going to have also, we're going to have all these we're going to need to have these precious metals, these rare earths. We're going to have to start extracting them ourselves and things like this. So there's a huge change in the technology, and it will probably open up just huge opportunities because you can write your own software, you can draft your own contracts, you can get very cheap, easy medical advice. The cost of many services are going to go way down, and all new services are going to emerge.
Yeah. And then that's what we're all interested in, isn't it?
I'm like, do I need to go back to school to do something? I'm serious. This is kind of a thing I think about.
No, JD,
you know what the number one?
I need to start over. Yeah.
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, what I would say is you have to start embracing the technology now and understanding it. I use it every single day for everything, simply because I want to see what it can do. And even I can't track all the tools and all the agents and everything going on. But look, do you know what the number one growth industry has been through all of this? HVAC. HVAC.
Oh, from the data centers?
The data centers need cooling. So HVAC has been enormous. There's been an enormous boom in HVAC.
Cool. All right. Pipe Fitters Union. All right. Here we come.
So
all right, JD, I'll see you at the lodge. All right.
Yeah. Deal. Charles, can I show your website off a little bit?
Go right ahead.
For those on the podcast, and maybe you could walk us through, kind of talk through what's on there.
Sure.
This is WeightWatcher.ai.
Right.
It's like a lot of math and man.
That's the very nerdy site. And I have a tool also, an open source tool. But go to the website. I'll show you. Well, I'll show you where to go. Go to the website and go to the examples page.
All right, here we go. Okay. We got great AI models have well-trained layers. And you're showing the log eigenvalues.
Yeah. That's very nerdy stuff, right? If you go to the because this is for for people who are building their own models. But if you go to the examples page, go to GPT OSS.
Okay, GPT.
And Charles, while he's pulling that up, can you answer a question for me? So right now, what kind of privacy protections are in place with ChatGPT? It can't access my email yet, can it? It can't access my calendar yet, can it?
If you give it access to your calendar and your email, Sam Altman's going to own everything.
Okay.
There's no privacy on ChatGPT. They have everything. I mean, these guys are.
I know they have it, but they won't access it, right? I mean, if I ask it to go find me an email from before, it won't do it just yet. Will it?
You have to give it access to certain tools, so it doesn't automatically have access to your Gmail, but Google does. Right, and Google AI does. And if you think that these guys...
So this is what's happening, is that these folks it's all been essentially each existing product has already been sandboxed, right? And so Google AI is not going to play with OpenAI in terms of...
They're different companies, but think of this, okay? Recently, Google admitted that they finally said, we're going to start deleting the data that we've kept from your incognito browsing.
Oh, you kept that. Weird.
Okay.
Thanks.
Right. So don't believe for a minute that these guys don't have everything about everything you're doing, and they know everything. And it's just and the idea that you're going to give ChatGPT. I mean, if Sam Altman is, these are guys who, there's no ethics right now, right? It's the Wild West, and what we've seen is that the guys,
there's no liability, right?
No, there's an accusation that they murdered someone, right? There's nothing. I mean, they're getting into porn, right? They're going to start creating erotica.
Well, they got to make money somehow, Charles.
So no, there's no liability. I mean, what's going to happen is the people whose copyrights have been stolen, they're going to go in mass and say, "Look, we want you to pay us." Yeah. They're not going to put a criminal claim on, because copyright theft is a felony, right?
AI model to figure that out.
Well, that's part of the challenge. Is how do you know if this is one of the big conceptual problems? Does the AI, is it fair use or is it copyright infringement?
Well,
so if you have an AI model,
right? Is it making a copy? Is the technical, in the old days when we were talking about computer software, right? did you copy paste the data in the actual software model itself, right? But we can't even get under the hood now at this point.
That's right. And this is where I think the law just doesn't know what to do, because there are some people who are going to say, look, this is a memory. It's just like a database, and you're basically stealing all this copyrighted information. And then there are people who say, no, this is not a memory. This is fair use because we're regenerating it. And the law just doesn't know what to do here. And,
that's almost like I saw it once. I remember it. I'm recreating it almost like a human having a
photographic memory.
Perfect memory, right?
That's exactly what's going on. Almost an imperfect photographic memory because it makes mistakes.
Yeah.
And nobody knows what to do about this. And what we know is going on is that these companies have gotten access to stolen information. So there are these people who basically have gone out and taken all the world's books or all the world's scientific papers, and they snagged them and they put them on like some torrent. And we know now that these companies like Facebook in particular, probably OpenAI, have gotten access basically to what really should be illegal information. But because of the scale that they're at, and the money involved and the people and things like this, they're going to have.
I don't know, Charles. Have you heard that we're in a race with China? Like it's a do or die situation with China, apparently.
Oh, the Chinese have everything.
Yeah,
they have, and they're all here. Do you think that, they're not here taking all the information and sending it back? I mean, they're all working here.
Yeah.
Although there's always, funny.
From a public policy standpoint, that's the war cry, right? We gotta, rules, privacy, copyrights be damned, right? We got to beat China to this AI thing.
Well, the Chinese are all here. We have to beat China, but we're also deeply embedded with China.
Yeah.
There's a famous Russian dissident who has worked on the nuclear weapons program. I think he helped develop their the nuclear, the fusion bomb, Sakharov. And he said one day the communism and capitalism will merge. And because the two systems will have to come together, and that's what's happened. In my opinion, that's what's going on. And we've merged with the Chinese, and they've become more like us, and we've become more like them.
Yeah, I mean, the United States has taken a huge ownership in U.S. Steel, for example. I mean, that's
yeah. We're gonna take more like them. Yeah, we're gonna take a piece of the action.
Yeah,
but I think but the thing about the Chinese models is that they're open source. So they give them away, and they're maybe 6 months behind everything we're doing. And anything going on in any lab at eBay or at Meta or OpenAI or Google, all that information go back to China, 100%. 100%. Because they all talk to each other during, when they're not at work. They all know each other. They all went to school together. Everybody's talking to each other. And, of course, they're talking back to people at home. Don't think for a minute that's not. I think the most... To me, like the most ironic thing is say Meta is the most Chinese lab of all the labs in Silicon Valley, and they've fumbled the most. Like they haven't been able to produce anything as good as what the Chinese can produce.
Got it.
But these models, the Chinese have produced these open source models, and if you're going to start a company, you can use one. You can download one of these models, and you can use it for free, and there's no restriction whatsoever. Okay. Just don't talk about Tiananmen Square. It won't admit that Tiananmen Square happened. And it will think that Taiwan is part of China, and this kind of stuff. Like it has these kind of biases built in, right?
Interesting. So, are you the only player out there assessing quality of these models?
No. There are, in fact, what's going on is that there are 100 different ways to assess the quality.
Okay.
And usually, the way you assess the quality is you put data through and you see the response. And what's happened is that the foundation labs have gotten they're the one funding some of the quality studies, and they've gotten access to some of the data early, and they put the data into their models. So they've been gaming the system.
Horrible. Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So this is why my technology is completely agnostic. It doesn't care about any of that. It gives you sort of a one-off, thumbs up, thumbs down kind of technology, judgment, risk assessment. But, we're totally unbiased where, all the assessments out there are, nobody even takes them seriously anymore. I mean,
are you the only one doing that? You're the only one that's sort of unbiased, completely agnostic?
Yeah, I'm the only one who's unbiased. I'm completely unbiased. Okay. It's completely unique technology. There's nothing like what I'm doing out there. I mean, I invented all of this myself.
And we're here at Bold Inventor Show. So have you thought about trying to patent that technology? Or
Right.
keep it the trade
So,
secret? Okay.
so what's happened is that in order to develop the early piece of the technology and get some credibility, I did it through UC Berkeley. So everything was open sourced.
Okay.
So now what I'd like to do is raise funding. And if I can get some funding, I have some ideas for some patentable ideas, which extend on the technology, but do things no one's ever thought of. And I actually, if I could get money, I would do that. And then that's what I'm working on now, is developing that, so that eventually if we can raise some money to develop the technology, then that's what we do. Otherwise, I mean,
JD, what's your understanding of like how these big companies have filed patents to protect some of this AI technology, right? Because what it sounds like is that the code is not really understandable, right? So we're not going to go get any, necessarily any patentable copy or, some patentable subject matter on the code itself, right? So
No.
how do we protect something like this?
I mean, it's like we've always done for software. It's the series of steps. What's your method? What's the unique process? What's it doing? The functional step at each point. And is it performing that? Is that series of steps unique and non-obvious? So that hasn't changed. That is still any software, whether it be AI or otherwise.
But don't we have to be able to publicly disclose how this stuff works, though, right? And Charles is trying to explain it to me, and I don't know what
it's up here. So you said open source through University of Cal Berkeley. So that's something I could go Google. I could go find it. I go find what you're doing at Weight Watchers right now. But
you can download the code. It's open source. The Weight Watcher code is open source. You can read it, download it, read the papers.
So what's your secret sauce?
Right. So what I want to do is develop technology that I can use to train models to their optimal performance. And nobody knows how to do that. Right. So my technology tells you if a model is good or bad. It gives you a thumbs up, thumbs down. It can give you sort of a quality score. But how do you make the model perfect? So I have some ideas of how to do that. In other words, how do you train a model? So let's say you have a data set. How do I make sure that your model produces exactly the best result you could get? And that technology I'm developing.
So I want to get a nice concrete example. Maybe we say I made a recipe book, and that's my model. And I'm going to have an agent go make different foods using that recipe book.
So you might want to ensure that all of your recipes taste good.
Right.
So, right. Use my technology to ensure that every recipe that you've trained is a good recipe. It's not some horrible, you haven't done something goofy that will make a recipe that's just maybe poisonous, right? Maybe make someone sick. Maybe they don't like it, So the idea is that the recipes, you don't have some weird recipe in there. You might have 100,000 recipes and 3 of them are very strange. By random luck, somebody makes one of those recipes and gets sick.
Okay, but what you have now, the open source version, what would that tell me about my recipe book? What does your system say?
Well, it would just tell you, there's something wrong.
So
we don't know. We're not going to tell you which recipe is wrong yet. Eventually we'll tell you which one is wrong, but we can tell you there's something wrong with a few of your recipes. Like out of the 100,000 recipes you have, maybe 20 of them there's something wrong with them.
So, your book gets a B-. This is your
right
7 out of 10.
Right. And then I want to develop technology. I want to invent the technology. We'll come back and say, let's make sure everything's 100% on target, that there aren't any problems. That's what we're trying to do.
Cool.
And are you going to be selling to people making models or people that buy models that want to fix them?
People who make models or who sell models to other people and would say, hey, I trained this robot to make the recipe. Okay. And we're going to give you a green light to say, okay, we've trained the robot to do the specific thing you want it to do. And we've got some assurances that it's not going to screw up and go crazy and destroy your kitchen.
Got it.
Fantastic.
That's the idea. I love that.
That's the idea.
Yes, I got
okay, so now all of a sudden I'm seeing how you make money doing this too, right? Yeah. You're kind of the, I don't know. You're kind of giving almost a rubber stamp of approval. Not rubber.
Right.
Stamp. You're approving these things essentially, like saying.
Well, when I was saying without my approval,
standards, right?
Without my approval, and something goes wrong, you could have got my approval and you didn't.
You're like the underwriter laboratory, the UL, on all electronics.
That's right. Like underwriter. I think it was a Consumer Reports. So Underwriter's Lab is better. That's right. That's what we want to do.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's almost like, like web security, right? HTTPS, right? Like that's kind of it's been vetted, right? And I know that if I download this thing,
right, or like if you're making a website, there are other websites that are checkers, and it'll check your website and tell you, okay, you got these potential problems,
right?
And some of them are problems and some of them are not. But you want to make sure you check all the problems to make sure that you're not gonna have a security, because one security flaw can kill your business.
Sure.
So you have to check that stuff, and securities change all the time. So this is very much like a risk management system for AI.
Cool.
And so this is kind of how I've always envisioned it, like it would be sold as a kind of risk management, a UL. And then I also want to develop the technology to help you actually build risk-free systems.
That's cool.
And we know how we know how to do it, but it's it's complicated, right? It's complicated stuff.
This, what you're talking about, like it almost and you probably won't like this analogy, but remember McAfee security systems?
Yes.
Like avant-garde, there from the beginning, right?
Yep.
Crushed, right? Weird guy, but crushed.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like almost like this is what's we're gonna need as individuals, something kind of operating in the background, making sure that these AIs don't,
Yep.
get out of control and go where they're not supposed to go. And I don't know, maybe it sounds like WeightWatcher AI is one of those tools that anyone.
That's my plan, right? That's what I'm trying to do. And I've also got a SaaS product called WeightWatcher. I'll type it in for you. It's a pro version. And what it is, it basically WeightWatcher.ai.com, and basically it allows you to log in, and it has sort of an interactive version. It's an interactive version of the website, but you can also tell me, hey, I want you to analyze my model, and I'll just do it for you for free right now, because I'm just trying to get the thing off the ground. And basically, there's no. You can read the terms of service. Tell me what you think it is. If it's any good. Basically, look, I don't take any liability. There are no warranties. Right. I'm just going to run this thing, and I'm just going to run the open source tool for you.
Yeah, we're just going to send it.
Yeah, and you can do whatever you want. Do whatever you want with it, and you can come on our Discord channel, and I'll talk to you about what you're doing. I've got a few people doing this, and we're just trying to figure out, sort of get a demo out there, so so investors can see what it looks like.
Did you send something through on chat?
I did.
Okay, I'm having trouble seeing it. My dashboard froze up when I tried to share.
It's just WeightWatcher.ai.com.
I got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the open source is WeightWatcher.ai, and the pro version is WeightWatcher-ai.com.
You're not hiding it too hard. Is it okay if I share that on the public comment?
No, sure. Because I want, people can log in, they can try it out. Please don't try to hack me. I spent a lot of time trying to get the thing up, but it just allows you to go through and poke around and see how the tool works. So it's a little interactive version of the website. So it has sort of the same stuff you see, but also if you want to run it, if you want me to work with you and you're training your own models, ping me. And I'll load it up for you, and you can get it'll give you a private account. Nobody else can see your model, that kind of thing, right? That's and the main thing, it has like the Google Auth, so it does like a Google login. So it does it authenticates you, and then it authenticates you and creates a little sandbox, so you can look at your models inside the sandbox.
Okay,
and that's the idea. And we don't even keep your model. Like we'll upload your model, analyze it, and then we delete the model. So we're not even storing it. We're just storing the information that we analyzed on it. And again, this is the open source version. It's a wrapper around the open source tool, so you don't have to fool around with all the open source stuff.
Charles, who do you think is going to win the AI battle?
That's a tough one. I think Google is doing a really good job. And here's why I think Google is they're in a prime spot, because first of all, Sergey has come back to the company. And he's if you live in Silicon Valley, Sergey. He's a friendly guy. He's the real thing. He's a little Howard Hughes, but he's also very much a genius. So I mean, and they've got what they have is they have the infrastructure. They have their own TPU units, right? So they're probably the only major competitor to NVIDIA right now, but they don't sell the unit yet, right? They don't sell their own chips. Yep. So they could do that. Like they could sell their chips and start competing with NVIDIA. They just have to make the software work on the chips better. The software doesn't quite work. Their own software works, right? But like general purpose software is not. So they're in a very good spot. OpenAI is, of course, still the leader because they've been willing to take the most risks.
Yeah.
I mean, they've really taken big risks. And it appears from this Sam Altman guy, you have to be a little crazy and unethical to take these big risks, but they're willing to do it. I think there's also, I mean, Anthropic is doing very well. So there's definitely, the three major players, Grok and Elon, that's an interesting thing because they don't have the chips, but they have the energy. They understand energy. Like they're really good at electricity and energy because of Tesla. And then here's what people don't think about. You have the crypto guys.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, the crypto thing, it's interesting how I feel like from like a zeitgeist perspective, right? That was people's first introduction into like the post internet, technology boom, right?
Well, the thing about the crypto guys, they have a lot of GPUs and a lot of data structure because they've been mining crypto.
Right.
Yep. And one of the big companies
on some
that's
level
now providing compute is CoreWeave. They were crypto guys, and the crypto guys have a lot of money. So I've tried to work with them too, but they're there's a lot of you imagine a lot of issues with crypto, right? From a legal perspective, it's just
from a legal perspective, and I mean, there's not say what you want about crypto, but there's a lot of unethical behavior going on in crypto.
Well, one of the companies like the Tornado Cash, right? The guy went to prison.
Yep.
And he got pardoned, but but the crypto guys have a play in there also because they want to put they have access to the data, they have access to the compute. But right now it's anyone's game, right? I mean, it's anyone's game, and it's also this problem that I don't know what it really means to win because with the amount of capital being put in,
we got to make a lot of money to get it out.
Yeah, what does that mean? I mean,
I don't know.
OpenAI is talking about doing $1 trillion IPO. I don't know what they mean. Are they going to own the whole world?
I don't know.
Right? I mean, right now, Nvidia right now, I think their total market cap is bigger than the GDP of maybe Germany and France combined.
Sounds right.
I mean, it's just at least bigger than Germany. So what's going on now is, and then of course you have the Chinese.
Yeah.
So it's anyone's game. No one really has a moat, right? No one has any special technology that somebody else doesn't somehow know about, except me, because nobody's paying attention to what I'm doing, right? They kind of don't really, they don't really know me. I'm taking an approach that is very, I've got my own papers and they're out there and they're published, but it's very, very deep theoretical physics stuff. And it's stuff these guys, it's so technically nerdy that it's not something they're going to dig deep in unless they were to bring me in, right? They try.
You're looking for funding. I mean, is there the right type of funding
and potential customers? Excuse me?
Is there like the right type of funder, the kind of money you're looking for?
Mostly been talking to like Silicon Valley investors who do safe notes, right?
Yeah.
So like simple agreement future, that's the typical Silicon Valley investment, right? Yeah. You put a safe note in, then you try to raise a Series A and grow the company. But I'm also looking for just people who might be wanting to build their own A models, who might be potential customers. This thing could be bootstrapped too. It's not like I'm going to, I mean, I've talked to guys who are involved with sovereign wealth funds, and the problem with that, there's something called CFIUS. Do you guys know about that? No, regulation around foreign investment in AI and other technologies.
Nope.
So I don't know how, it's a very complicated space. Like I've talked to some foreign investors, but then it turns out that's regulated. This stuff but basically, like a typical Silicon Valley safe note, or, just customers, people who want to just try the technology out. There are a lot of things we can build. We don't just have to, a lot of things you could build. Like I was thinking about building like a resume analyzer or an invoice analyzer or the compliance documents, legal documents. There's all sorts of things we can do with the technology. And
right.
Yes, with any small business, you've got to find the right niche.
Yeah. Right.
And right now I'm still developing the core tech. But like on the risk management stuff, that part's done, right? That's just that's more of are there people who are building models and just want to know whether they're doing it well?
Yeah.
Or do they have problems? Is there some problem that's going to come up that you didn't anticipate that's just going to bite you? You'd be like, I didn't think that was going to happen. Right.
Love that. Well, we're at the end of our hour. Charles, thank you so much for your time.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
You want to share your email address if somebody wants to reach out?
Sure. You can reach me at charles@calculatedcontent.com.
Okay. Reach out. All right. Good deal. Matt, any closing parting words on your end?
No, Charles, thanks for sharing your time and your wisdom with us. This was a absolutely enjoyable conversation.
Hey, it's great meeting you guys. Thanks again for having me.
Absolutely. For Matt, myself, and Bold, wish you guys an awesome day. Go big, go bold.
Go big, go bold. All right.
Go big, go bold at boldip.com.